So welcome to last minute ideas that I should have done ahead of time. It's not super last minute, but it is like a week before I'm supposed to leave for Brutality, and I want to use my Glockenstock for my Partisan run, but I have an issue. Last time I used it as heavily as I did, it gave me a bruise here because the stock, like the part that you brace your shoulder on, is so small and it's bumpy, and so that it really can cause bruising. And which is saying something, I don't bruise very easily, so I don't mind the bruising, but it does kind of hurt my marksmanship, especially because it is in 10mm, and so I shoulder it extremely hardly, which makes it shoot well, but then it can cause some problems. And so I decided, after talking to my mentor, to take some inspiration from shooting jackets and make myself some ridiculous fantasy armor to protect my shoulder. Now, this is not to say that historically this is a ridiculous piece of armor. I'm making fun of the fact that in fantasy settings, they often just give armor for the aesthetic and not actually have it have a use, and it can often cause problems. Because mine is going to look a little bit ridiculous fantasy-ness, but it actually has a use. So let's get started. So my general plan is to start by drafting a shoulder piece, as I want it to be a removable its only thing, because I'm going to wear it with my Deadpool cosplay, but I want to be able to use it with other things, so it's going to be like independent on its own. It's not going to switch to the Deadpool cosplay. So I'm going to make it somehow strap on. I think I have some ideas, but I'm going to start by putting a t-shirt on and using tape to make a pattern. I've never done this before, but hopefully it works out because I've seen a lot of videos on it. So I'm gonna put the shirt on. This is an old shirt that I got. I don't have a use for it besides drying my hair, and I have a bunch of them. So I'm okay cutting it up. So I'm doing this myself. I probably should have someone help me with it, but it's fine. I'm gonna get painter's tape, and I'm going to tape my shoulder just to get the right shape. So basically what I want is to cover this area. So when I do this, right, when I'm holding the gun, the area that creates a pocket, so right here, and then a little bit below for when I'm doing different positions. And then I'm going to try to cover some other areas to make it easier for it to hold on less straps. So if it seems confusing why I'm covering so much, one, I'm going to cut it out, but two, I'll explain more, but let me just tape for now. Get around my side boob here. So the thing I'm debating is if I should do a shoulder piece to add added security, because I'm thinking of having like a strap here and then possibly a strap down around here, but if I can avoid as many straps as possible, I will. So I think I'm gonna not do shoulder piece for now, but I will. Yeah, I'm not gonna do it for now, and I am just going to take the shirt off and then cut it out. Now that I have the shirt off, I'm gonna cut out the shape and I'm gonna fix the tape a little bit. Yeah, let's show you this. Perfect. Okay, so I cut it out. Fits really well. I'm just gonna reinforce some of the curve right here. Okay. And now what I'm gonna try to do is gonna cut it out into pattern pieces that make sense so that I can sew it. Yeah. Okay, let's get rid of this. Now let's see. I want to cut this into as few pieces as possible to make it one, reasonable, and also two, easier to work with, and also just like slightly better constructed. So I think what I can do is cut this into two pieces, like half. So I'm gonna write front and back on it just in case, because I have done doofy stuff before. There we go. Now let's see if these pieces will lay flat. Yes, okay. We have our pattern pieces now. Now we have to pick out our fabric. So what I'm gonna do is to do an outer layer of like fake leather I have, and then 2 padding layers, which I have the fabric. I'm gonna do it in black, so I'm not using my Deadpool outfit, but also just because that's easy to work with. And I'm gonna add a seam allowance, of course. Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking. I'm not fully sure how I want to like attach the straps to it yet. My general idea is so, because it's gonna go like this, right, like that, is to do a strap across here, and then if I need another one across here, but I don't know what I'm gonna make the straps out of yet because I'm trying not to buy any new materials, and I want it to be adjustable. So we'll have to see. So, but I'm gonna get my leather and start with the cutting. Alright, I have both of my leather pieces cut out. I left some seam allowance, and now I'm not sure what I want to do with the seams fully, but now I have them so I can try to remember how I want to construct them. Oh my god, wait, no, now I'm confused. Oh fuck. Okay, like this, and like this, and this is the back. And this is the front. Right, and these pieces go together. Okay, now I know. And I cut these out backwards because, so this, right, is supposed to go like this, right? But I cut it out so that this goes like this, and which is inside out. So I have to cut it out again, but instead of having loose side up, I'll have that back side out. I wanted to see if I could reuse the same fabric straps, but I can't, sadly. So, these will go in the scrap bin and be used for another project, hopefully. Hi, Houdini. I'm gonna recut them out, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with my lining layers. Okay, so I've cut out the lining pieces and I've cut them flush because my plan is to fold the edges around. So what I want to do is make sure that these line up for when I sew them together. What I'm not sure about yet is if I want to sew everything together and then attach those straps or attach the straps first. So I should probably figure out what I'm going to do for the straps. So I'm going to figure out one spot and another. Okay, so what I found in my gear, like my miscellaneous craft supplies that I've collected, is some of this webbing and some of these different connectors. So what I have here is this very thin stuff that is, I want it to be adjustable and easy to take on and off. So I have this thin stuff here, and my worry about this was that it's going to dig into me too much and not be like enough to really hold it in place. I have 2 different sizes of these, like, you know, clippy things and their connectors. I have this type of like adjustable clip. I don't know what these are called. And then these types, they're like single piece types. I have this type of thing with this webbing, and this webbing, and I have this webbing. And this one already has one of those clips on it. So I'm going to see which is the most comfortable webbing. I think it's going to be this one that's softest. I don't really I want to go with black to like match the theme. So I don't want to, if this one will work, I'm probably going to use this instead. So let's see how I can get this open. Hey, Hunter. You're so cute. Okay. So if I connect it like this, yeah, that's pretty comfortable. And I think it'll stay pretty well. So I can use these to make it adjustable. And I have to figure out how these are usually constructed, but I'm hoping that these are the right size. I'm gonna use this smaller piece as my reference of like how to make this work, because I've never done something like this. Okay, so I think one side has to be a loop, so I'm gonna take these out for now. Who's a silly kitten? So I've put this through, and I'm going to assume that this is what I would like. I put another loop through here and sew this onto my thing, right? And then I have these double. I'm literally figuring this out as I go by looking at this. Okay. So, is this the right size? No. Are these the right size? Yes, because this came with it. Okay, so this thing goes through here and it would get sewn down. Right, and then once that's sewn down, let's see if I can pin it now. Go. I put the top one. I'll make sure it's not tangled, and I put it through, and I'll probably burn this with a lighter like this, right? And then I attach this end to its own loop, which I then sew down, and then attach this to my thing. Is that right? I think that's right. Okay. Let me pin this all down and then see if I have enough to cut off a bit for the loops to attach. Okay, so this is at its tightest. That's definitely gonna work. So let's make it a little looser. Okay, yeah, it's So I definitely have enough where I can cut off some. What I would ideally want to do, and here's where I might have to give out the black theme a little bit, is use one of these to make it easy to put on and off without having to go over my head. Right, so I could do this. My cat is playing with something now. Right, like here-ish, right? And then it could go unclip. I'm gonna actually go see if I can find black versions of this. And I'm gonna put the rest of the stuff that I don't need away. Except for I'm going to leave these because I might need these still. I'm interrupting the video to tell you really fast about my Patreon. Now, if you don't know, my channel is not monetized through YouTube and I don't do sponsorships. So this means that my only means of support for my channel is actually through my Patreon. There are multiple different levels with different types of extra content and perks that you can get, all starting at just $5. I would personally really appreciate if you joined it. I have trying to build a lovely community there and I would love to see you there. If you are not a fan of monthly subscriptions or just don't really want to do Patreon, that's totally fine. You can always support my channel by liking my videos, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. Other ways you can support my channel, of course, is through my P.O. box. I have a tactical gear wish list, as well as always being open to messages. I think I have an Amazon wish list somewhere too if you want to get me something off of that. This shirt was off of that, which is lovely. I'm also always open to messages. If it's like, hey, I want to get you something for cosplay. There's some cosplay makeup I've been wanting, or there's tons of stuff. You're always welcome to message me. I have tons of social medias, which will be on screen now. So thank you. And please enjoy the rest of the video. All right, so on second pass, I found this, which already has it on it, which would save me a lot of sewing. And if this works, that would be really cool. I just might have to reconfigure my idea a little bit. So, this is definitely more than long enough. Now, you're a kitten. He's like, what? I am? Okay, so this means that what do I need to do to make this work is I need to cut here, right, to attach it to this side. If I'm thinking correctly. There you go. I cut it here. I don't want to cut it before I before I figure this out because I don't want to make the wrong cuts. I cut it here, and then I have all of this. And then I want this to connect. Yes, okay. That'll leave me enough space. Okay, so I cut it here, and then I connect this strip to the back, and then it comes around here. Perfect. I did it. I'm so smart. I did it. I'm so smart. Okay, so I can put all of this away, and let me think about this for a sec. I'm trying to think how I want to attach this to this now, and this to this. Like I could just sew it in. But my original plan was to have these and then like wrap these around. And so then I have to cut for that, but I think that's fine. It just won't look as neat. Or I could sew this on top of everything like that. No, I think the first idea is simpler. Okay. So I'm gonna put all of this away now because I do not need it. And now that I have all of that figured out, the next part is to start pinning everything together. I need to burn the edges of these, and then I also need to make sure the measurements are correct. So basically my plan is I cut out 2 layers of the lining fabric, and my plan is to sew them together, like to themselves, the 2 layers so that they stick, and then sew it to the back part lining fabric, and then do the leathers or the fake leathers, sew them to each other, like just one line, and then put these here, right, like this. And then take some pretty strong, like I have strong German glue stuff, and then start just gluing it down like this, because this is such thick fabric. I don't want to break my sewing machine. And so glue it down, right, like this, all neatly around. And then so when you turn it around, it's all neat and it doesn't have any seams even. Yeah, so my first order of operations is to sew these together first, but I'm going to put them, let me make sure the pattern pieces are correct. Okay, so this goes like this, and this goes like this, and okay, I want them to meet here. So if I put the overlap there, that'll be perfect. Okay, now I will pin them wrong sides to wrong sides. And oh wait, I gotta take out these pins. The pins I put on the inside. Okay, and make sure they line up. Okay. And then I'm going to sew along this line. I'm just going to mark it for myself. Pins also are kind of a marking, but and then once I did that, I'm going to go around and sew around there. So let's go to my sewing machine, and hopefully that will make more sense if that didn't make sense. So I just finished sewing the piece together. So this is what it looks like. This is what I mean by like sewing around all the edges. So, oops. If I'm remembering correctly, it goes like this. I forgot to sew this side piece together. Whoops. But it fits really well, so the pattern is good. So I just have to sew this up. I'm just gonna pin it and make sure that I have the correct sizing. Okay, so when I pull on these sides, I notice that there's some gapping here, so I want to bring this in a little bit more. So let's just see if I pin it more like flush. More pins, that'll work, or if I have to bring it in at all. Okay, let's see. There we go, perfect. And then when I shoulder, it'll go right there. Okay, so I'm just gonna sew this, and then I'm going to decide how I'm gonna attach these straps. So I have this sewn up, and I have my straps here. So the strap connects this way. So this side is going to go out front. So I kind of want it to go here-ish so it overlaps enough that it's going to get more coverage when I sew it in. So more of it is sewn into the thing. And then that means that I'm going to see now, so if I put it on now, right? I wish I had a mannequin that was like perfectly my proportions to do this on, because that'd be so helpful. Okay, so it needs to connect from here to here. Okay, so this is as tight as I want it. I have a lot of extra here, but say I needed to go over something bulkier, I want it to be able to adjust. So let's add, let's say that much. Then the adjustment is right now in the back, so and that is at full tightness. So I'm gonna take, wait, is it full tightness? Yeah, that's a full tightness, that's what I want. Okay, wait, no, I'm silly, I'm tired, I don't know. Okay, so like this, and then now I can make it looser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a piece of chalk and mark generally where the start should be. Perfect. Okay, so when I'm wearing it, this is going to attach here, if I'm right. I'm going to pin it and test it. I'm gonna just fit a little bit. There we go. Look at this. That's pretty fucking cool. That's so smooth. I just made this out of like, I didn't even have pattern. I like this a lot. This is really cool. Okay. Oh my God. I'm so excited, y'all. Okay. So that means now I'm gonna get my scissors wherever I put them. Where did I put my scissors? Scissors.
Scissors? Scissors.
Oh, they're on the floor. Thank you. Okay. And I'm going to trim this end. I'm going to leave a good amount to be sewn in. And this is, we need no longer. And I want it to be at this angle. So I have pinned it in, and basically my plan is to just go over it in the sewing machine, and hopefully it doesn't break my sewing machine, and just sew a box and then an X, and I will show you a little bit. I'm going to do that. It's pretty simple, and that will hopefully be secure. Again, it's not going to take much tension, so I'm not as worried about it. It's not like it's carrying weight. It's kind of just holding the shape that's already contoured to my body on. So. so I've sewn in the X. It's not the neatest X, but again, it won't be seen, and it just has to hold it on. So, ta-da! And I'm gonna do that with the other piece. And then the last thing I'm gonna do before I get back to the leather is I'm just going to use a zigzag stitch to sew down these, just so, they're not gonna fray because they're felt, but just to make it look a little bit neater and press down nicely. But I'm not gonna film that because that's boring. Okay, so I got a little cold to put on, but I did finish searching, and I did this one. So those are all neat, and I trimmed all the thread. I'm just going to trim the excess that are spilling over. That. And then we will go over to get my leather. Okay, so I want to trim it up because it's cold. Let's move this out of the way. Just making myself some space to work on. There we go. Okay, so let's get the piece. So what I need to do is I need to sew the shoulder together and the side together like I just did with the other piece. And then let us remember how they go together. Okay, so perfect, okay. So I am going to pin along this line, which is why I left the seam allowance, but I just drew it in. Again, I like this fabric because it won't fray, so I don't really have to worry about finishing edges, which is super nice. Okay, so I've pinned along this side, and I also need to pin along the side, which is where they will connect. I'm just double checking that that's correct. Yes, and I'm see how I'm pinning the right sides together so that the seam will be hidden. And you can see this warping here while I'm pinning them together because the way I cut it around and traced it around my body creates that so it's like body shaped and it's not just flat, which is on purpose. And so what I'm pinning is I'm making sure that the pin goes through and matches the white lines together so that I'm actually getting them correct. Okay, so I'm just gonna sew two lines like down like I did before. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm gonna turn it right side out again. Voila. And I take this nice beauty and I'm gonna put this inside. And basically what I'm gonna do is kind of wrap it, if that makes sense. My idea is to basically take all this extra seam allowance that I left on the leather and not on the felt and wrap this around here and glue this down neatly. And then so it looks really neat on the other side. I'm just gonna do some experiments with some of the scrap leather I have just to make sure I get the corners right because I can't fully remember how I want to do that. This is why having the scraps is helpful. I don't just throw them away, I keep them in a box. So this is a corner. So if I remember what I wanted to do, I think this. That just like that. And then I go like this. So I create a little right angle here, and then I would glue like this. And like this. Yes, I think that's what I want to do. Okay, now that I have that figured out, I am going to go around and just trim this down a little bit so it's on the edges, and then do the same thing with the other. So I'm just going to time lapse that. So it's gonna be a little bit hard because it's such a weird shape. But hopefully I can do this right. I think actually what I'm gonna do to start off with is just almost as like a test. I'm gonna glue these down and just so I can see how I'm working with it without wasting glue. So if I have this, it's called Uwu glue. It's really fast, it's strong, and it works well on fabric, but I've never done it with this fabric, so I'm gonna try it now and see if that works. Alright, so I love this shit. It's very liquidy to start, which is nice because it really gets into all of the crevices. And now I just press down like this and hold. And it's already ready. Okay, that's perfect. So I'm just gonna do it with the rest of them, and then I'm gonna go do it around with the side, which is gonna be a little bit more complicated. The nice thing about this fabric is it's not real leather, so it's a little bit easier to work with. And the reason I'm not wearing gloves, which I probably should be, but it glues to this, the glue sticks to the gloves more than it will stick to my hands. So it's kind of a pain in the ass to use this with gloves. I'm actually gonna unglue this and trim this really fast. So it's harder to use with gloves. And it dries clear, so if it got seen, that doesn't really matter. And it gets into all the little crevices that are made by the weave of the fabric, which is really nice. So now that I've done all that, I'm going to glue around this thing, and hopefully I don't fuck it all up, because I like it. Okay, so let's turn this. Oh, maybe actually I'm going to do this way. Let's do them inside out so I can actually see what I'm doing better. Oh, that's so awesome. And I'm going to see if I can pin it into place a little bit so I'm not worried about it moving around all the time. Just capped with glue. And see, I'm picking it up to move it around and manipulate it because it's like going to be curved a little bit. And I want it to fit its curved form when I'm doing it. Pin in place. It's so long, especially when it's weird shape. I've literally never done anything like this before, but it's turning out surprisingly well, so I'm happy. That's my song, sorry. Now that it's all pinned down, I have only one small issue where it's like I have a little bit extra fabric here and it's a fold, so I'm just going to glue that down to itself later. I can start gluing. Another thing I have to work around is these pieces where you see I have this, and so that won't work. So I'm either gonna cut it and then just glue it down, or I'm gonna fold it and glue it down. I'm not sure yet what I wanna do. So I'm just gonna ignore that part for now and kind of just start working around it. I'm probably gonna time lapse it and then pause the time lapse if anything cool happens, because this is kind of just folding and gluing. So I think I finished it in only a couple hours. Now that it's all glued together, all I have to do now is try it on. Again, with it all glued, you can see on the inside, all the edges are glued, and the outside is pretty nice and smooth. So let's see. It's pretty easy to put on. It feels nice and stiff. It's not gonna stop a bullet, but it probably will protect me from some bruising. It like fits nicely in the back. It doesn't take up too much of my body. It's not gonna get in the way of anything like a sling or anything. Let's get the Glock in stock and we'll test it and see if I can still shoulder it. Okay. I like the leather because it creates some friction, so it's easier to shoulder and it's not gonna just slip off. So, I can shoulder it. See, it's protecting much of the area if I'm shouldering it differently, right? If I'm doing different positions, it's gonna cover that whole area. And if I have a bigger gun and it's gonna take up more of my arm, it's gonna definitely cover that. I think that this is a success, and I will take a few shots of me modeling it with the cosplay that I'm planning on wearing it with. It's probably gonna become part of that cosplay as well, as just like when I wear that cosplay, this is gonna become part of it because Deadpool does have some shoulder armor and this is my version of it. But yeah, I think that's pretty cool.